Nora and Winnie. Winnie, of course, one of their support players in Janora Flex Tank. So they have made a lot of changes here. We'll see how well they can stack up because this is not the roster that took them to top 4 in TESPA Collegiate Series. For UC Irvine, these are a lot of names that I am familiar with. Learn to Play, Select, until they are the returning members. Isaac Birdie, I believe, either played Season 1 or was a substitute in Season 2. But of course, Zerocious and Genos, they're going to be the the DPS lineup for them as we are here on Hollywood already. UCSD going in to try and get onto the point. They're going to wrap around with that Lucio to evict them from, of course, the cafe.
I have a feeling that Irvine really expected that GOATS composition or something similar to come out because they went ahead with the Junkrat and the Soldier 76. So Soldier 76, you know, a lot of mobility to get around, get away from that GOATS comp. Whereas Junkrat, you build up that Riptide so fast you can snowball fights just by building one up and then taking the first fight.
Yeah, so Soldier 76 Genos is able to stay up on top, but of course they are really tanky bodies. It's Zerocious to find Hajime first, and now with one of the support gone, you are just running out of time here. As Zerocious still on top, he will drop down with that Junkrat. They're able to clean them up, and UCSD, they're going to get evicted from the point.
And that's a mostly clean first fight. We see that, you know, even though Isaac Birdie gets taken out, we have UC Irvine with the Rip Tire, and they can buy time, rather, and take the next fight. They're in a very good position here, and expect them to take probably this next fight with Genos being able to save up that tactical visor and perhaps the nano boost for the fight after that.
I mean, we saw that yesterday during the Beat Invitational, right? Soldier 76 has made a return. He's had that buff to him, 6 to 9, right? 9 shots now before you really start getting that recoil. UCSD, we're just trying to make that wraparound again, but UCI has already made them transition to the high ground, and Genos with the Helix Rockets taking out one. But it's a 1-for-1 exchange now. We do have a tactical visor out, but the shields are there. Hammer down, but still, this is just a lost cause for UCSD as Irvine clean them up.
Don't think they needed to use that Earth Shatter, but you know, they made this very expensive for UC Irvine, and this is definitely a winnable next fight because they have the Brigitte armor and they can really rush at whoever's on the point.
Yeah, both DPS ultimates gone, right? That was the visor along with the Rip Tire and the Nano. And so at this point, that leaves, of course, someone like Learn to Play or Tilde a little bit more exposed if they're not going to have that kind of get out of jail free card from that Ana. But UCSD, coming into this, they don't really have many ultimates to work with right now. They should be able to get that Graviton Surge, though, which is the really big one that we're looking for. Stargazer at 84%. Again, UCI have taken this high ground here. UCSD have to move them away.
And with this Graviton Surge coming up, expect a big fight from UCSD. They're looking to rush forward and take control of this point.
Now they do use that rally and speed boost up. Janora is able to just get right on top of Zerocious and take him out. Now Select falling too. Earthshatter comes out, but is that going to be enough for UCI to try and fight this back? Stargazer will go ahead and drop, of course, that Graviton Surge, and UCSD will be able to clean it up.
So again, expensive. They had to use almost all of their ultimates right there, but UCSD does take the point, and they'll be able to move forward. I don't know about sticking with this GOATS comp on the second point. You know, maybe you get to move forward and take one fight.
Yeah.
And it looks like we have a pause, actually.
Yeah, there was an issue. I didn't want to say anything at the beginning, but yeah, we were not in, of course, a competitive setting there. Yeah, we were in, I think, quick play rules. And I was like, yeah, that's a lot of time left after they got held twice. You know, if moving into point B after losing 2 team fights and you still have 5 minutes, nothing went wrong there. So we might actually have to get a restart on the lobby. But honestly, I think that was a really good hold coming out from UCI on the defense. That Junkrat and, of course, the Soldier 76. The Junkrat does a lot of damage to the tanks, and Soldier with like his new buffs really makes it easier if the tanks aren't on top of, well, holding right click and make sure that their shields are up, that the Soldier can just burn down a support, no problem.
I certainly think so. We saw some very good fights coming out of UCI, but I'm happy that UCSD was able to make fights costly. They're often expensive. You know, we saw the Junkrat Riptire didn't get any value at all. We saw that they had to burn Nano Boost and Visor in the same fight. So I think we're going to see a very competitive series, not really a 3-0.
Yeah, and so just to give you guys a quick heads up, we are going to have to remake the lobby. We weren't playing on competitive mode, or this game would have been a completely different story, I think. You know, at that point, you know, they would have been left with about 2.5, maybe 3 minutes to push B, and with the fact that they hadn't swapped off onto goats. You had mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Sticking with goats onto point B can be a difficult cause, especially because only one tank at that point, which is the Diva, has the option to try and contest the high ground.
Right.
What happens if someone like Zerocious goes over to Widow? You need someone to contest her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what likely would have happened is they would have tried to snowball with ults. If they don't get the first fight, they go back, switch to a comp better suited to contest that high ground, because that high ground is so important on Hollywood Second.
There we go, the UCSD boys. So, I believe the TESPA season this year is going to be starting a little bit later on. And for this year, I mean the 2018-2019 season, because we do follow along basically with like the school year. And we're not having it start like in November or October like we usually have. But the rosters haven't been locked in set, right? This is great practice for them right now because while we do have, I believe it's like what they call the preseason, TESPA preseason brawl, it's still not the same kind of environment, right? And people aren't taking it as serious as like you would if you were in the actual like Towers of Doom format or whatever, or like the regional formats of TESPA. Right now, these rosters need to be built out. They understand the kind of pride that comes into playing in TESPA, and especially if you're one of the top 4 teams like UCSD and UCI, you want to step forward and move forward with like your best foot. That's why UCI, they have not spared any expenses, and they are going for some really huge pickups. Like you had mentioned, Zerocious was in the running for like a lot of the contenders teams and stuff like that. What more can you tell me about Zerocious?
He's definitely a very strong hit scan player. I don't know about his flexibility, to be honest. We just haven't seen it. But I definitely think that this guy can be a very strong talent. He could definitely join the ranks of those contenders teams. Just want to see more out of his other side of the spectrum, right? The projectile play. But I definitely think in terms of as a Widowmaker, as a tracer, he has skills and he can compete with a lot of those top contender talents. Now, as you were saying about the schedule, I'm really I think that's a really good change, honestly, because I remember back in TESPA, we'd have maybe a week to pick our team, and all of a sudden we're thrown right into the whole tournament, right? So I think that this new format gives them more time to prepare, and you're going to see better Overwatch because of it.
Yeah, specifically for California schools, you have to understand that in the UC, a lot of us are on the quarter system, and we don't start until like September, like mid-September, late September. While most of the nation is already in session for about a month at that point.
Has midterms,
Yeah, exactly. We're getting into school when you guys are having midterms, and so there was like a kind of disconnect, right? Especially because, well, if you're coming back to the dorms, maybe you don't come back until 3 days, maybe a week beforehand.
Right.
So trying to have those tryouts. That's why they've, a lot of these teams now, basically the esports programs run year long. Throughout the summer, they're doing their trials, and they're trying to figure out who they want on their team. Like this is serious business, Harsha. This is serious business.
There's money involved.
There's money involved. A lot of it. It's been actually fantastic. So we're still trying to get that lobby fixed up as soon as we do. It's going to be UCSD versus UCI. This is the rematch from the Fiesta Bowl that took earlier this year. Top 4 teams here from 3 out of the 4 top teams. Now the only team that we're missing is Toronto. But this is the California Cup, guys. So,
last time I checked, Toronto's not in California.
Yeah, I mean, you guys could do the Canada Cup now, Toronto and Vancouver, but that'll be next year, I believe. I don't know if they ever want to do that. But Canada, let's talk about it. They've got 2 new teams now in Toronto and Vancouver. Never mind. Let's just get right back into this. UCI versus UCSD, and it looks like, with the UI, we do have the proper lobby settings. Now, UCI on their defense, they're not changing anything up. They've got that Soldier 76 along with, of course, the Junkrat. And, Soldier 76 is someone we saw fairly often, and Junkrat was also someone we saw fairly often here on Hollywood Point A defense. Why is that?
Generally, what I would say is not together, but I think you're going to start seeing that a lot more and more now. But I think you generally want a strong hit scan presence on that first point. Widowmaker, not really the most effective. She doesn't have, there's not that much distance to cover for teams that want to rush and jump on top of your hit scan. Whereas Soldier 76 is a bit more mobile in the sense that he can run around. He's gotten the buff, so there's a lot of stuff to be said about how powerful he is in this meta. Just because you get 9 shots before your damage starts spreading out. That's a lot.
Yeah. And like compounding upon his bust beforehand, right? Just before that, he had also received like the damage drop-off rate. It's much further now.
Yes.
And these are pretty tight quarters, especially here on Point A. I mean, there's Maybe Afara outranges that at that point, but she still has to play really far back. I'm surprised that we're not actually seeing some Faras right now coming out from UCSD. We saw a little bit of that, I believe, during the Beat Invitational yesterday. Farah, she also the school's kind of still out on whether it's a buff or a nerf. A lot of people still think it's a buff though, but increased projectile speed on Farah. But her AoE splash damage has been decreased overall. How do you feel about Farah right now?
She seems very, I would say, interesting. You have to be a bit more aggressive with her.
Yeah.
But I really like that kind of Farah player. You're going to see better air duels, in my opinion, which means, like, you know, the Faras won't be shooting 10 rockets at each other, missing all of them.
Well, they could shoot 10 rockets at each other, but it's going to be a lot faster.
And they should kill each other.
They should, yeah.
Yes, and I think you're going to see Farah play that's more rewarding in the sense that you're going to be using your E, your concussive, to get into the fights and, you know, just be on top of people. And I think that's more of a exciting playstyle, in my opinion.
No, we've seen definitely the more aggressive Farah styles where because the rockets are so fast and since you don't get the same kind of reward, like the risk trade-off, right? You can try and spam from far away, but the splash could be enough for like your tanks to try and follow up on or Tracer to follow up on. That's what we saw a lot of during the OWO or contenders when people were running Farah along with the Tracer. But now because the projectile is so fast, you might as well clean up instantly, right? You just be right on top of them. You hit them once, you're going to hit them twice, and they're gone, especially if they're squishy like a Zenyatta or an Ana.
So what I'm worried about is we might not see that much Farah just because there's so much goats, and I don't think people are very willing to flex off of it for whatever reason.
It kind of just makes up for, like, especially if you're a team that doesn't, you know, have as much experience with trying to run, like, certain DPS compositions. Well, it's goats. You've probably gotten practice on it because a lot of people play it on ladder also. You know, it's kind of just like this plug-and-play kind of composition at this point, and they are going to go for it again, once again, on the UCSD squad. We saw last time they pushed through security. They've tried two different avenues of making this approach, speed boosting through to the backhand side onto the cafe, or just going straight onto the point. Right now, UCI, they haven't moved around quite yet, but with losing track of UCSD, they go ahead and make that transition onto the other high ground.
But again, expect Zerocious to get a very fast Junkrat tire and, you know, try and snowball this map. Just because Junkrat's so effective against this goat composition if you're disciplined, if you're able to rotate around the point. And he's already at 70% while the point's being contested.
Oh, Zerocious almost gets taken out by the flanking Brigida there, but he will be able to survive, backs himself off on security. UCSD this time around, though, while they are thwarted on their push, they were at least able to secure one tick. Hajime cleans up Learn to Play. Oh no, UCSD will be able to get that second tick now. And so things were looking great for UCI, but now Nami, he's got the rally, and UCSD have got the respawns.
Things were looking so good. There was a great purple nade. I think it hit 3 people. There was a rip tire, but oh, they're just burning all of their ultimates right here.
Oh, Tilde now. He's got to be careful. He's at half HP. The takes are there. Earthshatter is blocked, and Genos is back. He's got the Tactical Visor out, but he is getting contested in the back line. He will be able to clean up Janora here. It's still going back and forth as Winnie goes ahead and pops that sound barrier now.
It looks like this is the right decision. You know, this fight is going back and forth. I thought that there was a clean win for UCSD. Now, they just have to make sure that they don't cap that remaining percentage because there's not that much left on the point.
Ooh, great Earthshatter there. Gets 3. Zerocious will be able to clean that up, but UCSD very close to picking that up. 88.2%. And so UCI, they've got to be careful about these fights. Now, while they did have the advantage, they just kind of meddled around for too long. And UCSD, of course, because they're attackers, they've got that respawn advantage. They were able to make it back. 2 minutes were spent, though, to secure that. But right now, it's Stargazer. He's got the Graviton Surge, and he's waiting.
UCSD's definitely had the advantage in this fight. They should really take it very quickly. I think that, honestly, if you want to grab right here, you can just trap them all while you cap the point.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, in the back of my mind, I'm just screaming, grab them, grab them, grab them. But Genos, again, with that Soldier 76, is able to get that pickoff onto Hajime. Tilde, though, was able to lock them all up with that Graviton Surge. Self-destruct was used by Janora there. So I'm surprised.
They had the advantage there. They burned so much time, and they allowed Tilde to get his ultimate up. And unfortunately, you know, that means they're not going to be able to cap that on that push. Definitely thought that they had the advantage. They're looking at the Transcendence that they didn't use, the Grav that they didn't use. I think they were just a bit too patient.
Yeah, Stargazer did get caught up in that Stargazer did get caught up in, of course, that, but here we go. Tactical Visor out, but there is the Graviton Surge. Till he's able to get the D-Mech on Janora, cleaned up by Zerocious. He actually falls into the trap there. And so UCI is able to try and secure this now. It's 50 seconds left. It's going to be one last push for UCSD.
And despite the Transcendence, they're able to take that fight. And, you know, it looks like that UCSD is struggling despite having the ultimate advantages in all of these fights.
Yeah, I think it might have come down to, of course, not having more follow-up for that Graviton Surge. Janora in the fight beforehand had used that self-destruct. Now a lot of teams try to use that in conjunction, right? The Graviton Surge with the self-destruct, the bigger bang combination there. Of course, Apprentice on the Reinhardt should have gone in for the charge or something to try and take out, learn to play shield now. UCSD, this is their final chance to try and capture point A. They're so close to it, halfway there. Now Earthshatter is just completely blocked. Apprentice is able to do nothing at all. Genos took to the sky somehow as that Soldier 76. It looked like he just Helix rocketed himself there. And with the Tactical Visor picking up 3, that's going to be UCI with the hold on point A.
And that was a very big hold. You know, it didn't look like they were even going to be able to hold that after the first fight. But UCI comes back and they're able to win the next fight, win the rest of the fights with the ultimate disadvantage, and looks like they're going into this map with a big statement.
Yeah, that first fight that really went back and forth between the two teams, where it looked like UCI might win, but then UCSD got their respawns. It seemed like there was still a lot of disconnect coming in from both sides, and that's what to be expected right now, right? Sure. These teams are still trying to figure out their rosters. They're still trying to get their practice regimens together. So there's a lot that they can improve on. But one thing I do want to talk about is that Genos, I thought, you know, it was going to be Zerocious who's going to be the hit scan specialist for them. But Genos has come in with the Soldier 76, and he's been playing pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw that they were winning a lot of those fights off of him. He had tactical visors, I think, 3 times in that map, and they were always able to get value despite the Transcendence on the other side. So, you know, he did a very good job, and I think that it looks like UC Irvine has a big advantage. You know, I don't want to give him the Caster's Curse. Yeah. But they definitely should be taking this map.
No, that's one of the things we were talking about, the buff to Soldier 76, especially here on this map where it's difficult to try and get away from that damage drop-off range of Soldier 76, and now with that boost, of course, to his recoil going from 6 to 9, he can just basically snipe people. He should be 9-tapping people easy, and he's going to be looking for the supports, and he did that a few times where he was able to take out someone like a Zenyatta or the Ana. So now UCI on their attack, it looks like, yeah, they're going to go for...
the classic goats.
Yeah, they're going to go for... They've got the Moira in play. There's no Ana for them, so they're not going to try and play around, of course, a huge biotic nade here. But that means that Whitney, he could be the hero for UCSD, right? In this goats composition, if you don't have that Diva Defense Matrix up at the right time, or the Reinhardt Shield up at the right time, the biotic nade just wins the fight. That's a huge purple.
But there's no follow-up for that.
They can't do anything.
Yeah.
But that's what we're talking about, right? Winnie just needs to be able to get a good biotic nade in, and this fight should be one for UCSD.
I think this is a very interesting comp. It's a bit of like a protect the McCree comp, but you also have the ability to go aggressive with your Tankles with the Brig, right? But it looks like they're just jockeying for position right now. Both teams are fighting on the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's much better for UCI in this composition to just be able to jump right on top of them. That's what you want with the triple tank here. They've already taken out Apprentice. That's the main tank gone. That's the huge rectangle gone. Nami cleans up his counterpart, but that's a 2-for-1 exchange. It's still going in favor of UCI right now. Tilde, though, he got biotic naded. Is he going to be able to get healed up? Gets cleaned up. Now, there we go. No one's on the points.
And what was so scary is Tilde was just holding his defense matrix in front of both the Ana and the McCree. They couldn't do anything about it.
And that's the big thing. Even if you are able to try and get that biotic nade off, still, if they're on top of you, they're able to just exchange that well, right? You've got 3 tanks on top of 1. They're going to focus down that Reinhardt, and that's what you want to do in a lot of these kind of tank-heavy compositions. The Reinhardt versus Reinhardt battle is really important. If one team loses him, that's a huge, you know, damage mitigating factor. That huge shield gone at that point, and then from there you saw UCI were able to just walk them down and force them off the point.
Yeah, and it looks like UCI, after that, you know, that warm-up round, let's say, it looks like they've really gotten their stuff together, and they're looking very clean right now. You know, they had some very confident plays with that retake after losing almost everybody, and I think they're looking very, very strong.
Yeah, I think a lot of times it is deceptive that, like, the run-back distance is pretty much similar between the two teams. But like the way that first fight went down, UCSD basically, they lost their early members, but because they lost the members so early on, they were able to respawn that much quicker and get back to
Right.
the fight. While UCI lost the wrong members at the wrong time. So that is going to be the first map going over to UCI. Now this is going to be a best of 3, and so that basically puts UCI on match points and possibly in the trajectory of having a rematch up against Berkeley if they're able to take their series later on today.
Yeah, and certainly both teams will be hungry to prove that they're the best team in California. That's what the California Cup is all about.
It's a lot of pride, right? NorCal versus SoCal, or basically all the collegiate pride around our schools. There are so many different rivalries. USC versus UCLA, that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big one. But there's a lot of pride, especially in esports, of being a Californian school. A lot of the UCs have dominated amongst the collegiate teams, collegiate competition for so long now. You do want to be the best in California because basically that means kind of best in the nation. And they did prove that earlier this year during the Fiestable. Berkeley, along with UCI, just kind of demolished through all their competition all year long for that fated Grand Finals face match where UC Berkeley, they were able to basically demolish UCI.
Yeah.
And, I say that, I'm laughing because I need to mask the pain because, coming from UCI myself, I was not expecting that 3-0, but it was a dominant win from Berkeley.
And we see some coaching going on right now
Yeah,
between the maps.
you were talking about, right, the kind of support that they were receiving. We mentioned, there's sports psychologists, there's physical therapists that work with them, and that's kind of something that we really only see in the OWO and amongst, of course, like the higher echelons of esports. Now, what can you tell me about the support programs coming out for the players? How has that affected their lives?
I'm certainly I think that it certainly helps in the sense that, first of all, these guys are college athletes, right? So they're going to be spending time between college courses and their esports work, right? So balancing those two different lives, it's very stressful, I think. And I think that having a sort of, a counselor, a sports psychologist, definitely is very helpful in that sense. Also, you want to be in good habits, so those trainers certainly don't want to be getting carpal tunnel because that's a huge pain. But those are very useful for players.
Yeah, I mean, I tried picking up a stick the other day, and my thumbs immediately started hurting, and I never really realized this wasn't a big concern growing up for a lot of us, but it is the reality of it. It is a grim one. If you make these repeated kind of movements all day long for many, many years, and if you're not doing it with the proper stretching, you're going to hurt yourself. And so, while it might seem a little harmless at first, it is actually a pretty big problem. A lot of careers have been cut short because, well, you just can't compete anymore. I mean, we're seeing, players like Flower, who had been in FPS for a really long time, but he's still only 17, 18 years old now. Even though he had been playing, and he's young, he's been playing for many, many years, people don't realize that, and we're not really taught the proper kind of techniques to try and stretch out our hands. Luckily for me, I come from a climbing background, and so we use our hands and fingers pretty heavily, so we have to stretch them out, and that's what I've seen, actually. A lot of the physical therapists actually teaching esports and players that you just do a lot of these finger stretches that people don't really know about. They're awkward. Once you learn them, though, they make a huge difference now. So there we go. We have, of course, UCI Esports there, the Anteaters. A lot of recognizable faces. Select until they right there in the middle.
Look at those shirts.
Yeah. I mean, those aren't even their
jerseys.
Right? These are actually, I think, UCI Athletics shirts. And so
fair enough.
There's been a lot of support, actually, from faculty along with basically the school as a whole to make this program a reality. Of course, having investors and money helps a lot, but having schools backing is a lot more important, I would say. That they have a dedicated space where they can actually train. And so now having this kind of support, it's actually great seeing that, there are people that kind of take the lead on it, and so the rest of the nation can follow, which is what's happening across the nation here in the U.S. But here we go, guys. It's the California Cup Collegiate clash between UCI and UCSD. Irvine currently leading 1-0 as we load onto Lee Zhang Towers. Is going to be Garden for the first one. excuse me, Night Market for the first one, and we are seeing a Pharah sighting coming out from UCI, a Pharah Widowmaker versus what looks like it's going to be, of course, a GOATS composition for UCSD.
And this is going to be very interesting. You're going to want to see the Pharah get a lot of early damage in those early rockets and make sure that she can build up her barrage, right? Because that means that that's kind of one of those win conditions that you have against tankier comps. It's a very huge amount of burst damage, right?
Yeah, and for UCSD, of course, they are going to be grouping up because they are in that tank composition. They're going to instantly make their way onto the point, and really, it's just trying to decrease the sightlines. But as a Pharah, you're able to find these angles. The D.Va's trying her best to eat a lot of this up, as Zerocious, though, is getting good damage off. He's already at 80% towards that barrage.
And this is going to be a very big, explosive first fight. Look at the barrage right here. He might go for it.
Oh, what timing coming out from Zerocious. He knows that he gets bum rushed, basically, by that D.Va, and once the defense matrix is gone, you just go for the barrage, and that's what they did. Now, during that time, though, UCSD, of course, they were on the point first, were able to cap it, but they're only going to get a possibly 20% here before UCI just completely take it over.
Yeah, good patience from UCI to know that, you don't need to worry about the point right now. What you need to do is win the fight, get that Pharah barrage, and then take the point afterwards.
Yeah, and even though he had just used that barrage, he's already at 61%. Now, UCSD, though, they're making good headway into this. I thought they were possibly only going to get about 20%, but they were able to get another rotation of spawns in there, so they got it up to 27. But this is now going to be the difficulty. Zerocious, he's got 80% towards another barrage. Genos, that entire time he had no pressure on him whatsoever because a lot of the attention was drawn towards Zerocious. So as this McCree, he's going to have the Deadeye. UCSD have to be careful and impeccable with their spacing.
And this is almost 6 ultimates, but what we're going to see is Zerocious hovering right here, trying to get the barrage as soon as they walk out of the doorway. He needs to be careful, though, because D.Vas know about this. And they, looks like they go for the barrage right away.
Yeah, they lost complete track of him. They're actually making their approach onto the point. We actually saw, I believe, Hajime holding down on that right click. He was trying to stop any kind of splash damage coming out or any damage coming out without actually having sight of Zerocious. And so without, of course, that defense matrix, there is that time once you deactivate it where it's on a cooldown for about a second and a half. And so Zerocious saw that and he just goes for the barrage.
A lot of this game is going to be on his back. He needs to be able to, keep track of that Pharah, always know when she has her ultimate. But it does look like UCSD has swapped over to that McCree. And they pick out.
Instantly already take out Zerocious. It's a 1-for-1 exchange, though. Janora is gone, and Select is here on that Mercy, able to get that res. We don't see many Mercies often enough, but with that Pharah, you do want to use them together. Genos gets the trade on his counterpart in Zerocious, making his way on back, finds a double kill, and now UCI already at 75%. It's coming down to last fight territory for UCSD.
And it looked really good there for Hajime. His aim is definitely on point right now, but they weren't able to capitalize, and looks like UC Irvine has control of the point for now. With that monkey ult, the Winston rather, they can boop him off if they decide to go on the coast side. So, UCSD has to be very careful right here.
Yeah, Learn to Play is just looking for it right now. He knows his lips are just wet now. Wetting his appetite. There we go. Here comes the Primal Rage. He's onto the squishies in the back, but the sound barrier is used by UCSD, so Learn to Play doesn't overcommit. It's all right. Zerocious once again on top with that barrage. Cleans up Janora and Hajime. UCSD only has 4 members onto the point. Zerocious, he's got the D-Mech onto Stargazer now. It's just weapons free for him all day long. The only time he really had any trouble was when Hajime was on that McCree. And UCSD are trying their best here, but Zerocious will be able to clean them up.
And this is what I was saying. This is a contenders level player, a very good player, and I just wanted to see him play some more projectile, and looks like he got it. Albeit against GOATs, but that Pharah was very good. He used his ultimate at the right times and just took control of that entire map.
Yeah, again, that win condition in the fight is D.Va. Does she have her mech? Does she have her defense matrix? If either of those are no, you go for that barrage, and we saw it already. He had maybe, 4 barrages in that one short round, yeah. And especially, they took away the splash damage, a lot of the splash damage from her. And playing against a GOATS composition, you're used to getting a lot more of the splash damage kind of off and then building it up that way. But instead, he was just connecting with those directs over and over again. Granted, they were against bigger bodies because they were tanks. But now here we are, of course, now onto Garden. We're going to see that Pharah come out again, but Janora has an answer. He goes over to the Widowmaker, tags him once, but you need to be able to get that headshot.
Yeah, UCSD's comps are actually very interesting. Ooh, look at that. That's a good boop. But UCSD is running that triple sort of DPS hybrid without the Lucio. So that Brig, generally looking to protect the backline, I would say.
Yeah, I would say that was also really good kind of awareness coming out from Zeroshis. He didn't overcommit to being out in the open.
Yep.
Now, Selected, he got caught out. He was the one who actually fell in that Fire Mercy combination. But as soon as he got tagged by Janora, he just backed away. Ooh. Oh, and as I say that, there we go. The damage-boosted headshot taking out Zeroshis. So they're trying to create space for his team now as he was able to boost her onto the bridge. But they're already a man down. They're already a DPS down. They try to jump onto Genos. Janora takes out Select again, and now this Widowmaker coming up huge for UCSD.
You know, this Widow versus Pharah matchup on this map is actually, it would sound very Widow favored, but it's actually very swingy in the sense that, oh, and Genos gets the pick right there. But, oh, and there's the visor, but there's a Matrix on top of him, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get too much value out of it.
Yeah, he had everyone just barreling on top of him. The nano boosted Winston there. Now self-destruct will come out,
Ooh.
and it actually catches Tilda. Gets Apprentice now. Primal Rage will be used by Learn to Play. Stall at this point, stall it out because, of course, UCSD, they haven't capped it quite yet. It's been in UCI's favor this entire time. That's going to be UCI taking the team fight.
And this looks like a lot like that Hollywood that we saw. You know, it looked like UCSD had that point dead to rights, but all of a sudden, that stagger in from UC Irvine, you know, the ultimates, the Diva self-destruct, the Winston Primal Rage, they're able to keep control of the point, rather.
Yeah, 65% for UCI. They are basically in one fight territory here. UCSD taking quite some time. They're going to go ahead and pop that Valkyrie here. They got that chain heal, but a Bionic Nade comes out from Select. Sound Barrier is used by Isaac Birdie. While the Primal Rage gets slept. Oh, he's woken up, but they're trying to burst him down now. Self-destruct gets nothing for UCSD here as Genos just kites backwards. A 2-for-1 exchange, though, going in favor of UCSD.
And Winnie got the boop on the Ana, who had a nano visor. I mean, sorry, the nano boost, rather.
Yeah. And that could have been huge for them, but it doesn't matter. They don't need it. They've got the tactical visor now. Genos taking out Nami here, and even though he had a Diva in his face, doesn't matter at all. Stargazer will fall 98%, and it's going to be last-minute stall coming out from Winnie. You know, he's just left playing the blues at this point now. He will fall. Again, stall is coming out from UCSD, but UC Irvine in these long protracted fights are able to win it out. Zeroshis, we didn't get to talk about that, actually swapped off onto the Widowmaker now. Janora goes in with the blade, picks up Isaac Birdie. Will he be able to get more? He gets a second, but he gets cleaned up by Zeroshis now. It's just the Diva along with the Mercy. Just the Diva. He gets booped off by that Winston Primal Rage from Learn to Play, and that's going to be UCI taking a 2-0 victory up against UCSD.